Welcome to Vicky Makes and Builds, and welcome to my first Q&A video on the channel. So I'm just going to explain very briefly how I'm kind of going to do the Q&As. Basically, I got quite a lot of questions, a lot more than I was actually thinking that I would, which is great, and I thank you all so much for sending your questions in, and I would really love to answer all of them. So what I'm going to do, rather than trying to do them all in one video, which would make it a bit lengthy, what I thought I would do is separate the Q&As into a part 1 and a part 2. So this video today is the part 1 Q&A video, but what I also thought I would do is a separate video on a certain aspect of some of the questions that I was getting regarding my setup. I got questions about the lighting that I use and the setup generally and how I do the time lapses and all that kind of stuff. So I thought that that would be a good video to do separately, just to show you how I have things set up here, and then kind of answer those questions in that video, which will be a sort of separate, shorter video. And obviously all the rest I will answer in part 1 and part 2. So if your question doesn't get answered in this video, I do apologise. I will get to it in part 2. Yeah, I'm really excited to answer all your questions for you just now. So I'm just going to dive right in. I hope you enjoy. I'm going to start with a question from Lisa Brower, I think that's how you pronounce it. When did you first get into doing puzzles? And I had a similar question as well from Kiki Ray, which was, do you remember when you started your hobby? So, I don't know exactly when. I have been doing puzzles since I was a kid. If I had to put a guess on it, I would say maybe around about since I was like 8 or 9, something like that. But I haven't been doing it in a big way, really, until last year. But that's when I started the channel. So, you know, I'm doing them quite intensely now. Now I've got the Jigsaw Puzzle channel. Prior to that, I've on and off done jigsaws pretty much my whole life. I've always enjoyed doing jigsaw puzzles. And then in a similar kind of vein, the next question is from Mod Mum Non. What made you get into puzzles? Was it something you have always wanted to do? I don't know if there's anything specific that made me get into it. I used to get a lot of things that you could make and build. I had quite an arty crafty set of grandmas who taught me how to do cross stitch, and I used to get like hammer bead sets and just stuff that you can make and be creative with. So I kind of see puzzles as like part of that, putting things together and making something, and I just really enjoyed it. So I suppose just the things I was introduced to as a kid was what made me get into it, and also the fact that we used to do it as a family. Certainly my mum and my stepdad, but also my sister to a certain extent as well. There was usually a puzzle out. My granddad as well, actually, and we would sit doing the puzzles. So yeah, I think probably just historically, just a childhood thing really that made me get into it. Right, okay, so the next question is, what is your dream puzzle to build? That's also from Lisa Brower. So my dream puzzle to build is a Ravensburger puzzle, and it's 18,000 pieces. It is called Galactic Time Travel. I was a big fan of Star Wars when I was a child, and ever since I saw that puzzle, I've been wanting to do it. But unfortunately, it's quite hard to get hold of. It's not one that they make anymore, and any that do come up for sale are generally tend to be quite expensive. So unfortunately, I don't have it yet, but that is my dream puzzle to build. Right, another one from Kiki Ray. What's your favourite puzzle count to puzzle? As a general rule, I tend to like large piece count puzzles. I do like a 6,000 piece puzzle, but the problem with 6,000 piece puzzles is that they come in one bag and then I have to sort all the pieces, and I don't like sorting. So that takes away from it a little bit. Once the sorting's done, love it. Love doing a giant puzzle. I've not actually tried a 5K puzzle yet. I have two, but I haven't done them yet. I think I would probably really enjoy a 5K, but if I had to pick a favourite now, I think I'll say 2,000 pieces, because I just recently did a 2,000 piece puzzle just last week. I put the video up of the universal puzzle and I loved that puzzle. I mean, I like the image, but I liked the fact that it was 2,000 pieces. I liked that it was just bigger than your average. It fit on my table, so it was kind of an ideal size. It was more than 1,000 pieces, so it lasted longer. The enjoyment lasted longer. It kind of filled that need I have to do really big puzzles. But also it wasn't so big that sorting was a huge issue, and you know, sorting wasn't really laborious on it. It was kind of fine. So I'm going to say in this video, my favourite piece count is 2,000 pieces, but that might change when I start doing 3,000 piece puzzles or 5,000 piece puzzles. We shall see. Next question. Again, this is kind of a group of similar questions. So Joannie, or Joanie, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Joannie Meow asked me, what puzzle brand or brands do I like better and why? Okay, so there's a lot that I like. The list could go on and on and on, but my favourite brand is Clementoni, and the main reason for that is that they made my favourite puzzle. I also like the images they do generally. They do a wide variety of images. I like the piece quality as well. I like kind of the woven finish of the pieces. There's a lot about Clementoni that I like, so they're my favourite brand. Other brands I like are Ravensburger for pretty much the same reasons as Clementoni. But moving away from kind of the big brands, I would say, I'd say Art and Fable are an absolutely fabulous brand of puzzle. They feel like luxury puzzles to me. Well, they are. But I think it's that velvet touch to the pieces. The pieces feel so lovely, and I like the way they're very kind of artist centric, so they really support the artists. I've only done one. I would like to do another one very soon. But so yeah, they're a brand that I really like. I love Cloudberries. I've done a few Cloudberries on the channel. I think they're great quality as well. I like the images. Most of the images are really nice. Who else? Tanya Wick's puzzles. Again, I've only done one of hers, but that was an amazing puzzle. The Citrus Burst. I think the quality of her puzzles is lovely, and her photography is just really stunning. Oh gosh. I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. There's a lot of brands I like, but I'll leave it there at that. So a similar question to this is from Panda Puzzles, and that is, what's your favourite brand and least favourite brand? Well, I've covered my favourite brand, that's Clementoni. Least favourite brand is quite hard to answer because there aren't many puzzles I've done that I don't really like. If I had to kind of specify one, I would say probably the Impossible Puzzle brand. I have an Impossible Puzzle here. I've done it on the channel. This is the Bits and Pieces puzzle, where it's basically a pile of jigsaw pieces. And I've done two Impossible Puzzles before. One I did when I was a kid that had dice all over it, and it was actually harder to do than this one. It was frustrating as heck. But the main reason I'm not as keen on this one, as much as I enjoyed doing it and I enjoyed the challenge, you know, I like it sort of gets away with it because the image is kind of fun and it's just challenging. But I think the pieces are a bit flimsy. I think they're a little bit on the shiny side. They're quite big as well, which doesn't really help when you have a thinner piece. So, you know, I don't really like saying puzzles I don't like, but if I had to pick a brand out of all the ones I've done, I'd say probably the Impossible Puzzle brand, just because I just don't like the piece quality quite as much. Might not stop me doing another Impossible Puzzle though, just, you know, again for the challenge of it. But yeah, that would probably have to be my least favourite brand. And I'll just pop that down. And then the next question is from the Puzzle Queen 2, and that is, what's your favourite puzzle you have ever done? It's the 13,200 piece Disney Orchestra by Clementoni. Absolutely loved that puzzle, loved it. In fact, I have even considered doing it again. I would have to buy a new copy of it because I've taped the other one. But I've even considered doing it again as a 13,200 piece puzzle and mixing all the bags. That might sound insane. It might well sound insane, but who knows whether I'll do it or not. I don't know. Let me know. Would you like to see me do it as a 13,200 piece puzzle, or are you just quite satisfied with the version I've done it already, the way I've done it already? I don't know. Maybe I'm just, maybe all these giant puzzles are just sending me bonkers. But yes, the Puzzle Queen 2, that's my favourite puzzle. I'd say a close second would be the Universal puzzle I did, which I did a video on last week with all the Universal movies on it. I thought that was just amazing. So much fun. But yeah, that one is my all-time favourite. Okay. So next question from Grey Kitten Love. What are some puzzles that you don't have but are on your wish list? Right, okay, well, an obvious one on my wish list is the dream puzzle that I mentioned earlier, and that is the 18K Ravensburger Star Wars puzzle, Galactic Time Travel. Another big one on my list, I mean physically big, another large piece count one on my wish list is quite rare, and it's called Lahaina Vision. It's a 13,200 piece Clementoni puzzle, but it's just not as common as some of the other ones. Ideally, if I managed to get hold of that puzzle, I would perhaps mix that one and do that as a 13K puzzle instead of doing the Disney Orchestra again. I really would like to just see if I could do a bigger puzzle than 9,000, because 9,000 is the biggest I've done so far. But yeah, that's a high one on my wish list. I really do like that puzzle. Other ones are any Grateful House puzzle. I'd love to try a Grateful House puzzle. I saw Russell on Puzzling in Two Worlds do a Grateful House puzzle, and it looked like it was amazing quality, and some of the images are just really nice as well. So I'd like to do a Grateful House puzzle. Wouldn't mind trying a Minty Fizz puzzle and a Magnolia puzzle. I think some of the images on those look really good as well. I mean, there's just, I've got a wish list a mile long. I think most puzzlers have. But yeah, probably the two big ones are the Star Wars puzzle and Lahaina Vision, the Clementoni puzzle. But there's a few brands I haven't tried that I would like to have a go at as well. Okay, so my next question is from, right, this is another name that I will potentially pronounce wrong. Ki Huong Lai. Says or asks, I am a fan of giant puzzles. I enjoyed watching the Disney Orchestra and Educa giant puzzle videos on your channel. Do you have any other giant puzzles on your wish list? So yes, again, the 18,000 piece Star Wars puzzle is the top of my wish list, followed by Lahaina Vision, the 13,200 piece Clementoni puzzle. This next question is from Caroline Turlington. Caroline says, any plans to go to the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championship or International Jigsaw Puzzle Convention next year? I would really, really love to go to both of those things. Really, really love to go to both of those things. See, the Jigsaw Puzzle Championships are in Spain and the Jigsaw Puzzle Convention is in Las Vegas, I think. So, you know, neither of which is the country I live in. So, you know, I think the problem with these things for me is getting there and just figuring out how I afford to get there and how I get the time really and how I work it around the children. It's just not really something that's particularly practical for me at the moment, so I would doubt I will manage it next year, but I really would love to. Right, so this is another one from, this question is another one from Panda Puzzles. She asked, do you often look at the box image or do you prefer not to? It depends. I just like to have it handy, really, but I don't always use it. Depends on the puzzle. If it's a puzzle where I've just looked at the image a few times and I sort of know what sections there are and what colours there are, like if it's a 1,000-piece puzzle, I'm happy just to grab the box of pieces and just shuffle through them and pull out similar textures and colours and just build it. And I don't feel like I really need the box for that. There are times when I might build up a section and not quite know whereabouts in the puzzle it goes. Then I'll use the box, I'll refer to the box. And there are times when, you know, it's a particularly hard puzzle and I'll have to keep going and looking at the box. So yeah, I don't have a preference necessarily. I tend not to reach for it just kind of automatically. But I do use it. I do use it as a reference sometimes. Or the poster, if it happens to come with a poster. Right, next question, also from Panda Puzzles. What is your favourite place to get puzzles in the UK? Okay, so, well, there's a few. Amazon is a big one. I find that often Amazon just has the puzzle you want, so it kind of tends to be my first port of call. Then there is another website, a UK-based website called the Puzzle Academy. And I've had a few puzzles from them. They're actually really good. They always come in good time. They always come packaged really well. And, sorry, there's a fly. They always come in good time. They always come packaged really well. And they often have a puzzle that I'm looking for but maybe can't find on Amazon. Like, so for example, I was looking for the Metallic Mint Crypt and also the Pokemon puzzle. The 5K Pokemon puzzle, I was looking for those and I couldn't find them on Amazon, but I went onto the Puzzle Academy and there they were, and they were a reasonable price. In fact, often I find them cheaper than on Amazon, and so I bought them from there. And they also have that was the other thing I was going to say, they also have like a loyalty scheme thing, so you can build up points and get money off future purchases, which is again always a bonus. So yeah, I like the Puzzle Academy. And Smith's Toy Superstore, they do quite a wide variety of puzzles. They've actually got the Disney Orchestra for a really good price. So yeah, they're a good place to get them from, and I have bought puzzles from Very before, although they don't tend to have quite as wide a variety. So yeah. Right, next question. Now then, just bear with me. Okay, so the next one's from Taha9. How many puzzles do you have? Okay, so I'm just going to scroll down for this because I wrote this down. I had to actually count because I didn't know. So, on my shelf, there are 63 puzzles. Not on my shelf, but already built, I have 3 puzzles. So they are the Enter in the Bedroom by Educa, the Venice Sunset by Clementoni, both 6,000 pieces, and the Disney Orchestra by Clementoni, the 13,200 piece one. They're built and taped. So there's 3 there. There are 2 others in a cupboard that I've got, and I've got 2 on walls in my house. So I have the Citrus Burst in my kitchen, and I have the Hay puzzle Meow in my hallway. I'll show you pictures of those. So in total, oh wait, I've got one on my TV stand. That's a little Animal Crossing one. Goes quite nicely in between our Nintendo stuff because Animal Crossing is a Nintendo game. So yeah, so in total I think that comes to 71. I have 71 puzzles. I'm sure that will grow. Right, my next question. Tummel Chen asked me, do you have your own puzzle room and how do you cope with kids and thousands of tiny pieces? Okay, so yes, I do now have my own puzzle room. This is it. I'm sitting in it. I have the table out. I have the shelf behind me. And I use this for puzzling. The how do I cope with kids and thousands of tiny pieces part of it is really, really helped a lot by the fact that I have my own room to do it in. So previously, when I've, you know, in previous properties that I've lived in, I haven't had my own dedicated puzzle room, and then kids and also the cat become potentially problematic then. So, I mean, the way I deal with it now is I just close the door. The kids are actually, they're sort of old enough now that they're not so much of a problem, really. But they can be a bit clumsy and, you know, nudge them or bash them or something. So really it's just a case with them of just saying, please be careful of my puzzle, and generally they are. Normally they don't really bother me when I puzzle, so the kids aren't so much of an issue now. Back when I didn't have my own puzzle room, I used to use foam boards, and what I would do is if I had a puzzle out on the table, I would put boards over the top of it, and then I would put something heavy on the top so that they couldn't be nudged or shoved off. I used to actually have a tablecloth that wrapped around the whole table, but I kind of found that I didn't really need that in the end. I didn't sort of need to have it. If I had the foam boards and something heavy to put on them, that was fine. And the nice thing again about foam boards is that if I'm doing a large puzzle on bits of foam board, they'll stack, and then I can just put something heavy on the top. And that's usually how I kept it protected. If I have a box of pieces out, put the lid on, because the cat just loves lying on top of the pieces in the box. But yeah, no, the kids, they're not really an issue, to be honest, so thankful for that. But yeah, that's pretty much how I cope. Close the door or use foam boards and something heavy. Okay, next question. From Going to Pieces, what is your sorting strategy? I don't know that I really have a strategy with sorting. Often I can't really come up with a plan until I've seen the pieces, or even just started sorting. I'll usually just look at the box, maybe have a rough idea of sections I want to separate out, and then if I come across pieces a lot, you know, a certain type of piece or a colour of piece a lot that I hadn't thought of, I'll start to separate those. And yeah, it just kind of grows from there. Often I will also have a miscellaneous part. I try not to get too caught up with it, because it could take forever if I grab a piece and I'm just like, I don't know what that is, where it is, what pile to put it in. I won't kind of hum and haw over it for too long. I just shove it in a miscellaneous pile, or kind of a vague pile like dark pieces or something like that, where it could potentially be scattered across the puzzle. So there's sort of a semi-sorting process that goes on with it, but I'm aware it's miscellaneous, and I'm aware that that will probably be a pile I chip in and out of. And then once I start building the puzzle, having seen those pieces and kind of clocked them in my brain, I can then get to that point in the puzzle and think, oh, wait a minute, I know where those pieces are, they're in the miscellaneous pile. So then I can dip in and out, and, you know, that usually kind of comes together from there. Okay, next question. Favourite brands and why? Oh, okay, Alex Norman also asked that question. I've already answered that at the start. So, puzzle pet peeves. Okay, again, Alex Norman asked me, what are my puzzle pet peeves? Shiny pieces. I don't like glossy puzzle pieces. I find them quite annoying to build. I also don't like it when pieces come stuck together, specifically when they haven't cut through properly. So every puzzle I've ever had has at least two pieces stuck together. Most of the time they're just together. They've just not come apart, you know, in the process of putting them in the bag. But they're not stuck together because they haven't been cut through properly. You know, they just crumble apart and it's easy. Sometimes you will get pieces stuck together because the paper is still attached, and that becomes very annoying because in the process of trying to take them apart, you can damage the pieces. And, you know, that's just frustrating, really. I've had that happen to me once or twice. I don't know, I suppose that's a pet peeve. There are pieces in that wildlife puzzle, actually, that get stuck together, but it isn't because they're not adjacent pieces. They're not the right pieces. It's just because the funny shape of, like, the tabs and the gaps that they go in they get kind of stuck. And then I have to take them apart because they're not supposed to go together, but in some cases the tab has become bent, and I don't think I'm the only one that's had that problem with that puzzle, and that is very frustrating. So I don't really know what they could do differently there, apart from to make the tabs a slightly different shape, maybe not quite so hooked, so they don't stick together as easily. I'm not sure, but just sticking together pieces, that does my head in. My next set of questions comes from Erin Hammerler. How do you balance puzzling with your job, chores, family, self-care, etc.? With difficulty. I don't know that I'd describe it as a balance, really. I think most of the time I'm running around like a headless chicken. So, first of all, I only work part-time at the moment, so that helps. I do have a little bit of time during the day when I can do puzzling. If the children are at school, then, you know, I have a little bit of time to do some household chores and then a bit of puzzling before I then have to go and pick them up. As far as family goes, kids and I tend to do stuff together in the evenings after school, and we do stuff together at the weekends. That tends to come first, but occasionally we might have a down weekend when we're all just chilling out and we're doing our own thing, and kids maybe are talking to their cousins on the FaceTime or something like that, and then I'll have a few minutes when I can go and do a puzzle. So it's really just slotting it in here and there. Sometimes if I have a puzzle video that I really want to get done, I might have to make time first thing in the morning to do it. Just get up early because, well, the kids don't really like getting up early. So that tends to be my quietest time when I can actually think and figure things out and maybe do a bit of puzzling and a bit of filming. So sometimes I have to kind of find the time, but mostly it's just slotted in where I can, and just utilising the little moments where I've got some time to myself. But as I say, it helps that I'm only working part-time at the moment, so you know, I can generally juggle it, but it isn't the organised thing that perhaps it should be. I should probably make more of a routine out of it, but then again, when you've got kids, stuff has a tendency to just go a bit chaotic on occasion, so you know, so I balance it the best I can, basically. Do you take movement breaks after being in the same position for so long, was the next question. Okay, so yes, but not consciously. If I'm sitting at a puzzle for a long time, I might sometimes feel like my neck's hurting or my back's hurting. So I will stand up and I'll walk around and things like that. But as a general rule, normally I'll get interrupted. So I'm sort of forced to stop and go and, you know, make lunch or sort the cat out, or I don't know, get a parcel from the postman who's just arrived at the door or something like that. I tend to puzzle in fits and starts. It's rare I get a good long stint at it. I might get maybe an hour, sometimes two if I'm very lucky, and I might need to kind of consciously stand up and walk around then, but it depends as well how much I'm enjoying the puzzle. Sometimes I just don't really, I'm not really aware that my back's sore or my neck's sore until I sort of lift up from the puzzle and I think, oh, yeah, okay, I've been still in one position for too long. So yeah, it's not conscious, but I do take breaks just purely because I'm usually having to get up and do other things anyway. How often do you repeat a puzzle, was Erin's next question. Not very often. There aren't many puzzles that I will repeat now, and that's mainly because I have the channel and I'm just too busy doing lots of different puzzles and I want to try lots of different puzzles, so I don't very often. But well, I said earlier that I would do the Disney Orchestra again because I loved it. I said last week when I did the Universal puzzle video that I would do that one again because I loved it. So I would repeat puzzles if enough times passed between doing it and I could get it out and it felt like a whole new experience again. that's fine, but then that would have to happen again in order for me to do it a third time. So, you know, I might repeat a puzzle once, but probably wouldn't do much more than that. There are some older puzzles that I've done more than once, and that's because I did them as a kid. So the very first Wasgij puzzle, which is behind me, I've done that maybe about 3 or 4 times. And my Celestial Planisphere, which is down there, I've done that more than twice, definitely. So again, they would have to be some of my favourite puzzles, ones that I really enjoy. There'd have to be a fair bit of time that's passed, and it would probably now only happen, I would only maybe repeat it once. Do you prefer puzzles you are familiar with, or do you prefer starting fresh? I think that if I had to pick one out of those two, I'd say I prefer starting fresh. I like trying different puzzles. I like trying different challenges in puzzles. And I like doing new puzzles, like new to me. So I'd say probably I prefer starting fresh. I don't mind doing the same types of puzzles. So like, for example, the crypt puzzles, I really enjoy the 2 that I've done, and I've got more that I want to do. So, you know, I don't mind repeating the same types of puzzles. And it is nice when you are, I guess, familiar with a puzzle, and you sort of know the puzzle then, so it becomes a little bit more, I suppose it becomes easier to do. So that's the case with the Disney Orchestra when I did the small version of it. That was very familiar, and it was actually nice. It was like meeting an old friend. But yeah, I'd say of those 2, I'd say I probably prefer starting fresh. Right, okay, so that just leaves me with the non-puzzle related questions, of which I didn't get that many actually. So 2 seconds, let me just find them. Okay, so 3 of the questions were the same, and they were from, again, Joannie Meow. What do you do for work outside your channel? Jigsaw Juby, hello Jigsaw Juby. She asked, what do I do for work? And Rhonda Benz, what do I do for a living? Okay, so I told you that I work part-time. At present, I am a lollipop lady at my children's school. Now then, if you're in the UK, you probably know what I mean by lollipop lady at the children's school. If you're not in the UK, you might not know what I mean. So I will explain. Well, a better term for it would be I'm the school crossing patrol. So I stand in a high-vis jacket and a high-vis hat, and I hold a very long stick with a big circle at the top saying stop, a big sign at the top saying stop, and I stop the traffic for children crossing the road to go to school. So the reason that in the UK we call them lollipop people, lollipop ladies, lollipop men, depending. The reason we call them that is because the stick is shaped like a lollipop. So that's what I do for a living. I'm a lollipop person. Which unfortunately has nothing to do with real lollipops. So yeah, I actually really enjoy it. It's good. It's so nice seeing all the kids, and everybody's got a greeting for me in the morning. It's actually a really nice job. It's all weathers, so you know, sometimes it can be a bit miserable, but yeah, at the moment that is what I do. My next question, non-puzzle related, is, hang on, I'm just looking for it. What is your favourite thing about living in Scotland? This was from Caroline Turlington. I really love the landscape of Scotland. Because I was born in England and brought up in England, and you know, there are some very lovely and pretty parts of England, but for me England's quite sort of flat. I really like the hills in Scotland, and I really like all the lochs as well. I just think it's such a pretty place to be. and I enjoy that about it a lot. I also I like the accent. I like the Scottish accent, and I love the people here as well. I mean, I love the people in England, but I've ever since I moved here, which was, gosh, more years than I can remember, quite a few years ago, I've just really felt at home, and I just love it. I love it. It's mostly the scenery. I think that just the landscape of Scotland is just beautiful, and I really like that about it. But I like the people as well, and I quite like the accent. Right, so that is the end of the part 1 Q&A video. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope that for all those whose questions I've answered in this part, I've sort of answered them fully and understood what you've been asking me. But if not, you know, and if you've got any follow-up questions or anything like that, then please do feel free to leave a comment, and I'll endeavour to answer you. But yes, if you haven't had a question asked in this one, then look out for part 2, which I'll be bringing out hopefully soon. But what I'll probably work on next will be the video about my setup, and I think maybe about four different people asked me about different aspects of my setup, so I'm going to do a video on that, and I'll hopefully get that out next time. But in the meantime, I want to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!